Objective moral values are plausibly grounded in God. If God does not exist, then objective moral values do not exist. By objective moral values, I mean moral values which are valid and binding, whether anybody believes in them or not. Many theists and atheists agree that if God does not exist, then moral values are not objective in this way. Michael Ruse, who is a noted philosopher of science, explains, the position of the modern evolutionist is that morality is a biological adaptation, no less than our hands and feet and teeth. Considered as a rationally justifiable set of claims about an objective something, ethics is illusory. I appreciate that when somebody says, love thy neighbor as thyself, they think they are referring above and beyond themselves. Nevertheless, such reference is truly without foundation. Morality is just an aid to survival and reproduction, and any deeper meaning is illusory. Friedrich Nietzsche, the great 19th century atheist who proclaimed the death of God, understood that the death of God meant the destruction of all meaning and value in life. I think that Friedrich Nietzsche was right. But we've got to be very careful here. The question here is not, must we believe in God in order to live moral lives? I'm not claiming that we must. Nor is the question, must we believe in God in order to recognize objective moral values? I don't think that we do. Rather, the question is, if God does not exist, do objective moral values exist? Like Professor Ruse, I just don't see any reason to think that in the absence of God, the herd morality evolved by Homo sapiens on this planet is objective. On the atheistic view, some action, say rape, may not be socially advantageous, and so in the course of human development has become taboo. But that does absolutely nothing to prove that rape is really wrong. On the atheistic view, there's nothing really wrong with your raping someone. And thus, if God does not exist, objective moral values do not exist. But the problem is that objective values do exist, and deep down I think we all know it. There is no more reason to deny the objectivity of moral values than the objective reality of the physical world. Actions like rape, cruelty, and child abuse aren't just socially unacceptable behavior, they're moral abominations. As Ruse himself admits, the man who says it is morally acceptable to rape little children is just as mistaken as the man who says 2 + 2 = 5. Some things are really wrong. Similarly, love, equality, and self-sacrifice are really good.
So we can come across passages where Jesus says that we should love our neighbor as ourselves, and we can also come across commandments which say don't lie. So what do we do in a moral dilemma like this one? Imagine that you're in Nazi Germany and that you're protecting Jews by hiding them in your basement. And now a Nazi soldier comes to your door, knocks on it, and says, "Are you hiding Jews in your basement?" Now if you were to tell the truth, the Nazi's going to kill the innocent Jews. But if you lie, you'd be saving them. So this is where the moral hierarchy comes in. That verse in Matthew says the second greatest commandment is to love your neighbor as yourself. So from the biblical standpoint, it seems like saving the Jew is more important than refraining from lying. As an interesting side note, almost this exact moral dilemma can be found in the Bible in Joshua chapter 2. Soldiers ask a woman if she's hiding Jews in her house, and she lies to protect them. You guys can read that full story on your own if you're interested. Now I know I've mentioned the Bible a lot more than usual in this video, but I want to make it abundantly clear that I do not think that moral knowledge only comes from the Bible. In fact, the Bible itself admits that moral knowledge doesn't come solely from the Bible. In Romans 2:15, it argues moral knowledge is innate. Now, all that being said, the Bible does seem consistent with the idea of a moral hierarchy or value pluralism, and that can explain how moral dilemmas can exist. So let's give a good summary of a moral hierarchy, and then let's go ahead and use another example. As W.D. Ross would argue, some moral values are self-evident, like don't lie, don't steal, don't murder, don't break your promises, etc. Just because moral values are self-evident does not imply that when two or more moral values conflict, it will also be self-evident which one should trump the other. So let's apply this to abortion. And let's take the disagreement over whether or not a fetus is a baby and put that to the side for now. We have two camps, pro-life and pro-choice. And notice that neither camp is anti-life or anti-choice. Neither party opposes life in principle or opposes choice in principle. Both parties just happen to realize that you cannot have both life and choice in this instance. Achieving one value causes you to fail to achieve the other. So either way you look at it, there's going to be a necessary evil. Something good has to be sacrificed for the greater good. Now, just because some moral values are self-evident, it may not be self-evident which of these two moral values is going to trump the other when they conflict. Interestingly, a lot of people argue that because there's not always a clear solution to moral dilemmas, that objective morality cannot exist. However, even in principle, the inability or difficulty to answer a question about applied ethics doesn't call into question the validity or existence of normative ethics. In fact, in order for a moral dilemma to exist, there must be two or more objective moral values which conflict. So rather than being an argument against objective morality, the existence of moral dilemmas is actually reason to think that objective morality is true. Actus reus and mens rea. I probably butchered that pronunciation, but oh well. All that means is evil action and evil intent. So in law, no action in and of itself can be immoral because that's only half of the equation. So for example, the action of killing, when paired with the intention of being for entertainment, is illegal. But the action of killing, when paired with the intention of self-defense, is not illegal. So if you were to make a blanket statement like killing is always wrong, or killing is always illegal, then technically you'd be wrong. Now, although morality and law are quite different, I think that that legal concept is actually relevant to morality. It's very rare that a blanket statement is going to be helpful in law or in morality. So before we jump to a conclusion that something is right or wrong, we need to look at both parts of the equation. We need both the action and the intention. Like with math, if we change part of the equation, all we do is change the question being asked. At this point, people usually bring up that if morality is objective, then morality can't change. But nothing I said implies that morality changed. Situational ethics is clearly not a problem for objective morality. Just because circumstances are important doesn't imply that morality changes. For example, asking, is killing a human for entertainment wrong? Is asking a different moral question from, is killing a human in self-defense wrong? Those are two separate questions, and it's possible that they have different answers. At no point does that suggest that morality changes. In order for morality to change, you need to have the exact same moral question be right for one person and wrong for another. Their actions, intentions, beliefs, circumstances, you'd have to hold all of those things constant and show that the rightness or wrongness is subject to the individual. It must be subjective. The exact same moral question must be wrong for you and right for me. So let's put it to the test. Killing humans for entertainment is wrong. Killing humans is the action, and for entertainment is the intention. If that's true for me and true for you, then morality didn't change. Now, if you change the action or the intention, that's not an example of changing morality, that's just an example of asking a different question. Now, obviously, asking new questions doesn't imply that the answer to this question is subject to change.
Hence, I think that we all know that objective values do exist. But then it follows logically and inescapably that therefore God exists.